Do I expect them to then hold anyone accountable for this behavior? Oh, hell no. That's a strong no. There's no unequivocal no expectation, because the whole problem is people not holding their friends accountable. That is the seed of the problem that we're talking about. So do I expect them to immediately and forthwith uproot that whole problem? Hell no.
So you think this is going to go to trial?
I think they're going to make me push harder to get any real accountability. And it will. I mean, at this moment in time, the county still has the option to do this with some dignity. And if they choose to do so, I don't want to have already sabotaged their ability to. So
do it with some dignity in terms of
quietly and in-house. Like,
but
as long as
isn't that a problem? Isn't doing it in-house, doesn't that
No,
almost
I mean,
negate what they actually did? Doesn't the public deserve to know on some level? Because if they do it and then they fix it quietly under the rug, isn't that kind of a problem? Don't you think? I mean,
if it's fixed,
accountability,
doesn't matter.
but it does. If it was you and me and I did some shady shit and we agreed to do it, hey, I'll handle it. That I agree with. But when it's an elected official, I almost feel like the true power comes to the people when they are aware of it and they see it.
Definitely with elected officials.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
With public servants, I do want to have a softer glove, because they are valued professionals with real skills. They didn't win a popularity contest for the most part. There's a few that are just, but we need them. Like, we need them to be doing
we need the
good
good
work.
ones.
Yes,
we don't need the bad ones that we have to correct into doing good. We need the good ones.
That's correct. And I mean, I'm open to a lot of creative solutions that fix the problems. Perhaps replacements in leadership, perhaps just some general shakeups. It doesn't have to be heads rolling down the county steps.
That's what I want to see.
Me too.
If I'm
but
being
I
completely
just want to
honest,
be reasonable.
just because I don't like bullies and I don't like people that misuse power.
Amen.
That, like, fundamentally on my core,
Amen.
That's the shit that eats me up at night.
Yeah, there's a punk rock. There's a punk in me with a handful of safety pins.
And that's not to say I don't buy into the whole we need to burn down the system. That level of anarchy is too much for me, because I don't think people recognize when they say that in doing that, a lot of good people get hurt.
Exactly.
When you burn down the system, and people don't realize how hard it is to actually build something. It's far easier to just smooth it out and do what it was intended to do in the first place. Function properly.
It is much easier to correct than to
destroy.
Build.
Yeah, destroy and start over.
It's easier to destroy than to do anything.
It's easier, but in the long term, it's not.
And that is why I'm a little cagey and careful about how my hand gets tipped right now, especially in the public eye, because it is so easy to destroy.
And you feel like if you released what you had, it would destroy.
It would hurt the whistleblowers 100%. And those people, more than anybody, are the best ones in this entire equation. I'm not a good person. None of the people I'm targeting are good people. Those people are just doing their fucking job and don't deserve any of the shit they get.
It would hurt them in the sense that
they would immediately be retaliated against. First and foremost, that is a pattern that has happened over and over and over and over. Like, a solid half of the whistleblowers that I'm dealing with have been retaliated against.
So the challenge for you don't want to go public necessarily because you don't want the public to see it. You don't want the whistleblowers to get hurt.
I can take all the heat that people want to give me. I have zero ambition to county rule. I have nothing riding in the I don't get any contracts from the county. I don't draw any paycheck from the county. Nobody in my family does. There's no incentive or threat that they can bring to me other than maybe physical violence. And you know what? I'm a pretty big guy. I see on the cameras. I go to Aikido every week. I try to stay fit. I'm a little extra, but I lift some weights, do my thing. My wife's dad owns a gun store. I mean, if it comes down to it, we got a lot of friends, but I don't think it will because this is all civil discourse and it's all about politics. But I mean, there's a lot riding on it. There's a lot of people's pride riding on it. But I really, really, really have to be responsible with other people's safety and their paychecks and their families' well-being. Right? People. When I showed up and said I'm not just going to talk about it, I'm going to be about it. I'm going to do something about this. People trusted me with information that could implicate them. Right? And
which is huge.
And I'm a fucking outlaw. I respect that. Like I hold a lot of people's secrets, a lot of shit I don't talk about. And that's the level of care that I have to treat that information, right? Because if I let something specific slip that could only be known by a small handful of people, right? Of the dozens that I've talked with, like they get sniped. they get iced out of their job. They get the KPD treatment. Right?
I think what I struggle with is it's almost like somebody's dangling the proof that you need right in front of you, like it's right there, and you're like, I can almost grab it.
And I feel, and you know what? The moment I can make any of this public, I will go ahead and promise you first dibs.
Okay.
Right.
So what, in order for it to be kept, not quite. What word did you use? In order for it to be kept diplomatic, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
What does that look like? What do they have to do in order for it to stay? What are you expecting to get out of it?
Well, first thing is knock it the fuck off. in this specific lawsuit, in this specific case, step one is knock it the fuck off.
Off?
Quit using the county chambers to electioneer. Right? Quit leaking documents to the media before KPD sees them. Quit the weekly attempt at going on. You can't call the harpies off. That monkey's already out of the bag.
All the people that are
all the people that they've already riled up and that they've already given this misinformation and disinformation narrative to on county time. They can't unfuck the culture of aggression toward the office that they've fostered for 4 years or more. That's not going to happen immediately without, well, we talked about some accountability. I really, like, personally, really just heads roll down the county steps. Like I want people falling on their swords. I want just carnage. Because this shit is bullshit and it's on my dime. They're all fucking fired as far as I'm concerned. But there are valuable services at play. There are people's lives and livelihoods. There are a lot of people in this crossfire that just got fed a line of bullshit and didn't think to question their friend's integrity. And parsing that from the people who have been actively fomenting this is important. So
done quietly in the sense that you wouldn't take it to trial. You wouldn't.
That's how they avoid the court case. There's
yes.
There's a county discipline book. When you fuck up, this is county disciplinary measures. These are the things that the county will do to discipline certain levels of fuck up. Sometimes it's retraining. Sometimes it's not retraining. Sometimes it's you're out. But there's different levels for different things, and if it's applied reasonably, that's all I'd be asking for in the court case is writ of mandamus. Apply your disciplinary procedures to this matter immediately, and we're done here.
Are you worried that if it does go that way and it is handled diplomatically and they do that they're just going to start fucking up
No, because that's just on to the next thing for me. That's just the first correction. That doesn't address invoice problems. That doesn't address all of the other fire hose of issues. That doesn't address the complaint on DHHS that we mentioned. That doesn't address any of that. That addresses a group of people putting their thumb on the scale to avoid being held accountable, and that's all. There's
So
hundreds.
that's just one problem
That's
being
just
addressed by the
one
lawsuit.
problem. That's just the most immediate and most egregious that must end now. All of the rest, I mean, it's going to take me a few years to build and analyze the database to my satisfaction. Like, maybe not years. With the pros I got on, maybe a year, 18 months. Like, we could get the machine up to minimum viable product and humming. But it's going to take, I mean, this is years worth of change we're talking about. This is an immediate correction. The people keep thinking that my goal is the KPD campaign. No. Like, if Dillingham wins, well, that's just another person on the list whose communications I'm monitoring now. That's just another person whose email I live in. KPD is having her in office is better for the county, and it's better for my efforts, certainly, because she's not going to get less hate. But, I mean, it's one piece of a very, very long campaign that is aimed at correcting that culture that I'm talking about.
And so if it doesn't get done quietly, when would this be expected to go to trial? Because you haven't filed the lawsuit yet.
No.
It's just an intent.
We're still within. Well, we just hit the end of the 10 business days that they had to respond, and I've heard nothing, as expected. So now the paperwork's being prepared, lawyers are being gathered. Like, there's phases to it. I've been joined by one co-plaintiff. I expect I might draw others. Totally open to it if anybody wants to come in swinging with me. But no, I mean, funds are being gathered and spent. It's moving right now. Like, I'd like to get something filed by next week, but we're in communication with lawyers to see how quickly we can and should make it happen.
Do you expect them to agree to that and handle it by their own accord? Or do you think it's going to have to get to the point where some heads start rolling for them to actually take notice? To be fair, this might... What?
I'm just giving that question some reasonable thought. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I didn't anticipate the podcast that I did with Karen Paz Dominguez to reach them, and it did. So something tells me that it is more probable than not that this might get to them. I don't know if that's going to do anything.
Sure. No, it's
But do you think it's going to have to get to that point? Do you think they're going to ignore it until people start going down and they say, "Oh fuck, we have no choice but to do something about this"?
Okay, so from what I've observed, their first response is going to be to go quiet and hope I go away. Because if you notice, I don't know if you noticed that last board meeting where, so my my letter of intent was submitted as a public comment to another objectionable item on the agenda,
Which was
the Workforce Development Board has a cash hold and they want to write a letter to resolve it. But it was titled Workforce Development Board's Issues with KPD, and attached to it was a quote-unquote fact sheet that was just full of bullshit, was called out by multiple supervisors as this is an unacceptable. And I had already, like, that was after the letter of intent to sue, and noticed that some of the supervisors were real quiet during that conversation. And it's because they knew that they fucked up and they were being watched. Like, they knew they had to correct the behavior. So I think the first thing they're going to do, and I appreciate it, is knock it the fuck off. because it's unacceptable. They know it's unacceptable, and now they've been called out on it. Or maybe they don't. I don't know. My hope is that the first thing they do is at least not make it worse for themselves. But you asked me what I expect. But I do expect that county council has showed this to them and said, knock it off. And that they've at least taken that part seriously. There's more than one co-plaintiff now. Like it's well, I mean, me and a co-plaintiff. There's more than one plaintiff now. So do I expect them to then hold anyone accountable for this behavior? Oh, hell no. That's a strong no. There's no unequivocal no expectation, because the whole problem is people not holding their friends accountable. That is the seed of the problem that we're talking about. So do I expect them to immediately and forthwith uproot that whole problem? Hell no.
So you think this is going to go to trial?
I think they're going to make me push harder to get any real accountability. And it will. I mean, again, this isn't just fun and games for me. This is you fucked with my word. You fucked with my integrity. You made me into a liar. Your failure made my assurances to my friends, my colleagues, and my honored elders less true. That's not okay. So there's nothing they can do to make me stop.
And this is all because they fucked with the cannabis industry.
Yeah. They abjectly failed. They smothered it in its crib. They've done lethal damage to the whole industry. I am not confident that Humboldt's cannabis industry will ever flourish the way it should have. I'm not 100% positive it's going to recover from the last couple of years. So, yeah, what am I going to do about it, right? This. the same culture led to those same failures. So I'm going to light that on fire, right? A selective burn, like you do with forest management. You don't set the whole thing on fire, just the shit that's the problem.
Yeah. That's the thing. I'm big on accountability, and people make mistakes. That's a real thing. And you have to
Right.
give people the room to grow from their mistakes. But
It's
there's
true.
a difference between making a mistake and correcting it and just choosing to play outside of the lines.
It's how I can judge the integrity of a person by what they do when they fuck up. Right. So once upon a time, a long, long time ago, my first foray into anything political or really even like communication analysis, socio-ecological, was through opposition research. It's a very specific line in a political budget or a corporate budget. What you're doing is, this person is going to oppose this thing I'm doing. I need information on them to make them not do that. Whether they personally want to step out of my way or not. Right? It's dirty work. It is dirty work. And I don't like doing it. I stopped. It is not the path I chose for my life, but here I am back to it. But one of the core sayings, like one of the things you learn in training, is it's never the fuck up, it's the cover up.
That's the
Right?
thing, right?
It's not when somebody messes up that you can hit them on, because, honest mistake. I took these things to correct it. I honestly corrected my mistake. I apologize to the people I apologize to. If somebody handles a mistake correctly, you never bring it up, because the response to it makes them look good. Because good people handle mistakes a certain way. But other people don't. Other people try to hide it. They bully other people into hiding it. They commit worse offenses to hide the thing they did, right? And that's always the one that gets them. That's always the one that gets them. But yeah, I mean it's not the fuck up, it's the cover up. An honest mistake, honestly corrected. That's great.
That's just human nature.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you fixed the thing. It's fixed now. It's done. It's not gonna happen again.
Yeah. Everybody's gonna make mistakes.
Yeah. I screw up all the time. If I fix it, my wife still loves me. And if I don't, well, I haven't tested the theory yet. I love you, Dan.
Don't want to find out.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah. So that's kind of the operative theory on that. And again, it's why I can't just like come in here with 10 other people like, I brought my whistleblowers tweet. No, I mean,
you're being very deliberate about how you go about it.
I have to be for the safety of some people involved, because the culture we're talking about is a toxic workplace environment. If this was a private corporation, holy balls, like.
It's almost worse, though, because it's public funds.
It's 100% worse because it's public funds. I can choose not to shop at fucking Starbucks because they have all these workplace issues. I can't choose not to pay taxes.
Yeah. Well, you
could try.
It would not end well.
I could try.
Yeah.
Right.
I wouldn't want to test that theory.
Right. I'll call the Bundys. Ugh. That's